Welcome back. In this lecture, we'll try to understand another approach to political science, that is post-behavioral approach, post-behavioralism. When we understood behavioralism, there we understood that there we understood that behavioralist or behavioralism worked for some time, right? Behavioralist or behavioralism, it worked for some time, right? Behavioralism led to revival of political science as discipline. Revival of political science as discipline. But then you go back to America of 1960s or 1970s. In 1960s or 1970s America, you find Vietnam protest, you find women protest, you find black protest. And around the same time, behavioralism came, and behavioralism failed to provide any solution for these protests. When behavioralism failed to provide any solution for this protest, and behavioralism was limited to technical aspects, behavioralism was limited to making political science pure science, but behavioralism could not give behavioralism could not give a working solution for the issues that contemporary America had, for the then America had, right? When you are not able to give solutions, then your relevance will decline. Nobody will ask you. Nobody will ask you. So, post behavioralism arrived, or post behavioralism came into being because behavioralism या फिर behavioralist started limiting themselves to technique, and they could not give solution for problems of America based on those techniques. That is why David Easton, who gave idea of behavioralism in the original place, gave another lecture at American Political Science Association titled Credo of Relevance. Credo of Relevance in 1969. In 1969, he gave his concept, he gives his lecture of Credo of Relevance. Right? Credo can be understood in very preliminary analysis as principles of relevance. And another perspective can be need of relevance. Right? What what Easton started his lecture of Credo of Relevance, he said that he said that political scientists today mostly are behavioralists. What these behavioralist political scientists are doing, that they are working on method, they are perfecting their techniques, they are working on method, they are perfecting their techniques, they are they are despite working on method, despite perfecting their techniques, cannot give give credible solution to contemporary problems, right? They are evolving, they are working on their techniques without any purpose, without any purpose. So what he says that and he criticizes contemporary political scientists for sitting in ivory towers, for sitting in ivory towers, perfecting techniques, perfecting techniques ignoring purpose. What should be the purpose of political theory? It is to solution for problems. Give solution for problems which the then political scientist could not give. What is ivory towers? Ivory towers is basically 80th floor office. 80th floor office. It is a very decorated office, right? You are sitting in a decorated office. You are sitting with all the luxuries of the time. You are sitting in your AC chamber doing research, perfecting techniques, but sitting in ivory towers and perfecting techniques without purpose cannot be the work of political scientist. You should give solutions, right? In Marathi, there is this idiom, उंट्यावरून शेळ्या हाकणे, right? उंटावरून शेळ्या हाकणे. You are sitting on a camel and you are trying to give orders to everyone else. Do like this, do like that, right? This is the basic basic of the sitting in ivory towers. That you are sitting somewhere, you are perfecting your techniques, which has no solutions, right? And against this, he gives solution of creative theory. That theory should be creative. Solutions of creative theory. A theory should be creative and it should be based on two parameters. What should be the parameters of theory? Number one, action. Number two, relevance. Right? So theory should be action oriented and it should have relevance. What is relevance? It's problem solving capacity. Right? It's problem solving capacity. Right? I will give you example of Marx theory. Marx theory of revolution. Let's say Marx theory of revolution or Marx theory of historical materialism. That theory was theory of action, which suggested progressive class will eventually win. And it had relevance as well, whereby it motivated workers to rise and fight for their fight for their rights, fight for betterment of their lives. Right. So this is basically creative theory, which is action based and should have relevance of problem solving capacity, right? As he gave principles of behavioralism, he also gives seven principles of post behavioralism. First principle of post behavioralism is norms cannot be ignored, right? Normative issues or norms cannot be ignored, right? This means that technique is important. Technique is important, but relevance is more important, right? Technique is important. Yes, we have to develop a technique. Easton is saying, yes, that we have to develop technique, but relevance of normative issues is more important for relevance of discipline. The second principle of post behavioralism that gives that values cannot be ignored. Values cannot be ignored, right? Values cannot be ignored. Only facts cannot give applicable theories. Values cannot be ignored. The third principle that Easton gives that, right? The third principle that Easton gives is social scientist. social scientist's role is bigger than of natural scientist like physicist. Why? Because social scientist by his theory can give solutions for real world issue. Right? Again, he wants to take political science away from facts and want to make political science a more solution giving discipline, right? A more philosophical discipline again. Then the fourth principle that he gives, that in crisis, in crisis, we don't need techniques. We don't need techniques, but we need theories which can solve the issues, right? Which can solve the issues. The fifth principle of post behavioralism, that values are important to human civilization. Again, going back to values are important to human civilization, right? Then he says political science need not be pure science. Need not be pure science. There is no need that political science should be pure science. But political science, what it should be? It should be applied science. What is applied science? Again, saying the same thing, that we should give such principles which can be applied in policy making. That is why it is also known as policy science. Political science should also be policy science. That we should give such principles which can be directly applicable in policy making. That is the idea, right? And the seventh principle is political science is useful. Please promote it. So, in seven principles, effectively what he spoke was values are important. Values cannot be ignored. We cannot be natural scientist. We have to be applied scientist, and we have to be policy scientist. So all the ego that Easton had in his first lecture, it was all subsided because he realized that the normative core, the substantive core of political science is still philosophical. Philosophy is political science is philosophy, right? The next, the next contribution in political in post behavioralism was done by Karl Popper. Was done by Karl Popper. If you remember Karl Popper and his book Open Societies and Its Enemies, he talks about he talks about this concept of falsification. His concept of falsification encapsulates whatever post-imperialism wanted to say, that we need to be fact-based but value-based as well. Right, right. What Karl Popper is basically saying that we should we should be inductive, that our theory should go from general to particular, not particular to general. That we should start with evidences and try to get to a conclusion which is based on this conclusion, on these evidences, not the other way around, whereby you have a particular conclusion in your mind and you try to give examples and proof to that particular conclusion. That theory will be deductive, right? Deductive, in which inductive is conclusion naturally arrives. Deductive is a theory in which you have preemptive notion of conclusion. Right? You have preemptive notion of conclusion. So what Karl Popper is basically saying that our theory should be fact based. Theory should be value based as well. And our theory should lead to inductive theory. Our theory should stand falsification. Falsification is verification other way around. Right? Verification other way around. Falsification does not stop by verifying 1 or 10 times. Matlab, verification is verifying a particular fact a set number of times and saying that the theory is proved. Falsification is continuously falsifying, trying to falsify a particular theory. So Karl Popper and his concept of inductive theory and falsification also adds to post behavioralism, right? Also adds to post behavioralism, right? What he says that falsification should be the criteria on which theory is built. Falsification is verification other way around, and that is how he adds to post behavioralism, because falsification is principle of science. One theory is falsified, another theory takes its place. So Karl Popper and his contribution to political science and by his concept of falsification. Then another person is there, Thomas Kuhn, right? Thomas Kuhn. In his book Structure of Scientific Revolution, he gives he gives a theory of post behavioralism. In his book Structure of Scientific Revolution, he adds to post behavioralism by his concept of paradigms. Right? Try to understand both Karl Popper and Thomas Kuhn in the sense that how they add to post behavioralism. What is post behavioralism? It is basically fact and philosophy both. It is science and philosophy both. How Karl Popper adds to post behavioralism? By saying that a philosophical theory should stand test of falsification. A philosophical theory should stand test of falsification. That is the idea. That is how he connects, and that is how he adds to post-behaviorism. That a philosophical theory should stand a test of falsification, which is a scientific thing. Then there is Thomas Kuhn. He gives concept of paradigms. What I am saying and what I am trying to say is how these two people added to post-behavioralism. Post-behavioralism as an idea which is both scientific and philosophical. He gives concept of paradigms. Right? What paradigms is? It is a conceptual framework. It is a conceptual framework. He gives three stages of evolution of paradigm. Right? Three stages of evolution of paradigms, whereby there is an existing paradigm. Existing paradigm. Right? Then I will make this in on the next page. Existing paradigm. Then there is crisis stage. That existing paradigm is not able to solve all your queries, and there is evolution towards towards new paradigm. Evolution towards new paradigm. Think it as a dialectics. Thesis plus antithesis is equal to synthesis. Right? Existing paradigm. Let's say I will I will give both of the examples, one scientific, one philosophical. Let's say existing paradigm of Plato's theory of justice. Plato's theory of justice is the existing paradigm, or Rawls' theory of justice is existing paradigm. Right? Rawls gave his theory of justice. Then crisis period came. That communitarians criticized Rawls' theory of justice left, right, and center. Then Nazi criticized Rawls' theory of justice. When Rawls saw criticism in communitarians and Nozick, he arrives to his new theory of political liberalism. Right? Political liberalism. So what Kuhn basically want to say that this is how this is how political science should develop, right? Let's say, and I will give you one scientific example, right? One scientific example of flat earth. Existing paradigms in medieval period that earth is flat earth. In medieval times, before renaissance, flat earth. Then Copernicus came and he says that earth is not flat. And to prove that he takes his boat and sails around the world and comes back to his place. I don't know, it is Rome or Venice. I guess it is Venice. And comes back to Venice exactly after 1 year in that boat. People think that how he did not fall from the edges of the earth, right? The existing paradigm of flat earth was challenged by Copernicus and his his revolution around the earth, around the globe. When that crisis period came, then people realized that earth is a globe, earth is a round shaped ball. This is how scientific theory develops, that there is one paradigm, there is that paradigm is not able to explain all our queries, and there is another paradigm which comes, right? Again, I will give you one example from physics, right? Newton's theory of gravity, right? Theory of gravity. What Newton's theory of gravity suggests, that that celestial bodies like earth, moon, sun have their gravity because of the mass they have, right? Because of the mass they have. This was the existing paradigm, but this paradigm could not explain bending of light, could not this paradigm could not explain how stars which are far away, they can be seen to us. This paradigm could not explain if a particular star suddenly collapses, how its gravity still continue to exist, right? That exists because, right, how that star which has collapsed has gravity. So this idea, the theory of gravity as given by Newton was challenged because there were questions which his theory could not answer. So, so Einstein comes with new theory because Newton's theory could not answer some of his question. So Einstein come up with his new theory, that is theory of space-time, theory of general relativity, whereby he analyzes or whereby he sees space as a fabric, and 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 bodies as placed in fabric of space-time. So space-time is a fabric which bends around bodies, and that is gravity, right? And that idea started explaining a lot of things. That is how scientific theory develops. Thomas Kuhn suggests the same thing, whereby he suggests that how we should develop scientific theories which are scientific in political science, by continuously questioning existing paradigms. Existing paradigms should be questioned. Should we get into crisis phase, and we will be left with new and developed ideas which are more applicable in our lives, right? Then we have to understand current status of post behavioralism in political science. right? Post-behavioralism is frontier method in political science today. Frontier method. It is most important method in political science today, right? What behavioralism? It is not. Behavioralism is not acceptance of traditionalism. Political science has moved from traditionalism. Today, political science is both and fact and philosophy. It is not acceptance of traditionalism. It is acceptance of values. Acceptance of values, right? What behavioralism is? It is not goo goo gaga, goo goo gaga over techniques. They are not fixated on perfecting their techniques. They want to they want to incorporate values as well. What behavioralism, post behavioralism is saying that scientific techniques can be possible if we collect more data. If we continuously collect more data. That is the idea behind post behavioralism. That is the relevance of post behavioralism. This is post behavioralism. We are done with all of the approaches of political science. Now we have to start studying comparative politics, and we will shift to theories of paper 2, and then we will try to finish comparative politics, democracy, state, with respect to comparative politics, and then we start with theories of IR, and that is going to be the agenda. Thank you so much. I hope this helped. We will we will wrap this. Thank you so much. Bye bye.